Barak Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Zephaniah Chapter 1. And pretty much I was reading through this last night. I just want to hit a couple of points and go through it. It's very, there's a lot of good information in here, pertaining to these times, and, some things when we read in the scriptures happened, in the past, but some of the things apply to now. It all depends on how things are written, and the proper context of the scripture that we're reading. All right, so we're just going to get right into it. This is the book of Zephaniah Chapter 1, and we're going to start at the first verse. It says, "The word of the Lord which came unto Zephaniah, the son of Cushi," and no, Zephaniah was not a Cushite, so don't get it twisted. The son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hezekiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah. "I will utterly consume all things from off the land, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai." And back at that time, the Lord did allow the Babylonians to come in and take down the land of Israel back then. But the land wasn't utterly consumed as it will be in these times. So keep that in mind, when we read further down. It says, "I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea and the stumbling blocks with the wicked." So all of these things are going to be done. Why? Because the Lord is going to destroy this place, America. Let's go real quick to the book of, I believe that's Ezekiel 38. And there was one more precept that came to mind. Let's go to, I believe this was the one. Well, let's just stick to this one here for now. Right. So it says, "I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea." When we read Ezekiel 38 chapter, this is a future prophecy dealing with Gog, which is Russia, and the whole scenario that's playing out in the Middle East at this moment, as we're speaking. "Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel." And what is going to cause this great shaking in the land of Israel? The missiles. And the missiles, you've seen videos of explosions and how things shake and rock and how devastation follows, behind, the different explosions. And that's what's going to cause this place to go up in smoke. Let's go to Zechariah 14 and 12 real quick. It says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the people that have fought against Jerusalem." Yeah, because these missiles are plagues. You can read about that in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. It says, "Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet." So why is this final judgment coming, the second death? Because of what they've done against the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. "Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet." What has the power to do this? Well, they showed you in different movies, especially Judgment Day, which was Terminator 2, I believe it was, where they show you where Sarah Connor was standing on the fence, holding onto the fence, and they show you the people and their flesh melting away, as they were standing upon their feet. And this is what has the power to do that. It says, "And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." And that's exactly, how this plague or this destruction, devastates anything in its path. The scriptures say that the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So it's going to be pretty hot, to be able to melt buildings, cars, people, and eventually also, as we were speaking on yesterday, there will be radiation poison left behind, and that's a part of, the cleaning up process that's going to take place, and, it's not going to take forever, because the Lord is going to give, his men spiritual power, to fix all of these things. And the fire of, the missiles is going to clean up, some of it, but some of it is going to be left behind, because the scripture say that the waters were made bitter, by wormwood, which is actually the missiles. So going back to Ezekiel 38, it says, let's read this again. For in the fire of my jealousy, which is the missiles, the Most High is a consuming fire, and in the fire, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel from the missiles hitting. Scripture say that the earth is going to rock to and fro like a drunkard, so that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, because the Lord is going to be in the presence of those missiles, because he is a consuming fire. And the mountains shall be thrown down, meaning the big governments, and actual mountains here in America will be actually laid flat, because America is going to be a plain from north to south, from east to west. And the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Why? Because of the devastation that those missiles are going to cause. We just read about this in the book of Zephaniah 14. Another one that comes to mind real quick is Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. This is how all battles were fought in the ancient world, until these devils, the Lord gave them the power to create missiles. So now they fight from long distances. They don't fight like they fought before in the ancient world, hand to hand, face to face. It says, but this, meaning this final war, shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And what is that burning and fuel of fire going to be? That's going to be those nuclear missiles, the fire and the radiation that's going to be emitting from those missiles. So going back to Zechariah 1 and 3, I will consume man and beast, I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea, and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. Now these stumbling blocks with the wicked is what? The sorcery that these devils are putting on the world. And keep that in mind, because that's also gonna matter of fact, let me read this one. Keep that in mind, because that's also going to be a reflection of a verse that we're going to read in the same chapter concerning that topic or that matter. So when we go to Revelation 18, it says that no more of these things are going to be heard in America anymore, or around the world, because America will be totally annihilated. Revelation 18:23, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, right? Because all people got rich off of America. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Now we go to Revelation 9 and 20, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, which are what? The international banking families, beginning with the Edomites and all other nations, which will be in their shelters around the world, not in America. They're going to survive. But they think that they're going to survive because they, set up these bunkers, to be protected from the destruction. But what they don't understand is they're going to survive because they're going to be the first ones to taste of slavery. It says, yet repented not of the works of their hands, meaning all the wickedness that they did, that they should not worship devils. And this is what they do. These rituals, these different, sacrifices that they make, these different lavish parties, that have all different type of madness going in it. This is all done as a worship of devils. And they think there's going to be business as usual once the smoke clears. And idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk, neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries. See? Nor of their fornication, nor of their theft. So they're not going to repent of their sorceries, because this is what keeps them afloat. Remember, they get their power from the left-hand side. So going back to Zephaniah, so one of the things that the Lord is going to consume is the stumbling block with the wicked, and I will cut off man from the land, saith the Lord. Right. And that's going to be the ultimate devastation and destruction, on this place. All right. I will also stretch out my hand upon Judah, because Judah is what? The head tribe. It says, and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, because even like back then, just as today, you still have Judites and other tribes that are worshiping the image of Baal. They're worshiping, it doesn't necessarily have to be an image, a statue that they walk up to and they bow to. It's pretty much the image of this world, the things that they do that are pretty much forwarding the agenda of these devils, and we're going to get to it. And the name of the chemarims with the priests. Now the chemarims, when we look up the chemarims, these are idolatrous priests, and of course now it's not going to work. Satan is always busy, busy, busy. Let me see if I pull it up on another window, if it'll pop up. Yep. See, look at this bullshit. All right, so we just do it like that. So the chemarims are idolatrous priests. All right. Because this is Esau's religion, everything that's wicked. The word is Kamar. Makes you think of a dude named Abu Kamar, father of idolatry. Priest, idolatrous priest. Right. So now what is an idolatrous priest? An idolatrous priest is someone who does rituals for a particular deity or a particular god, such as Baal, Ashtoreth, Molech, Kayan, Milcom, and others. Now, an idolatrous priest or priest doesn't necessarily have to be someone that's in a religious setting like so-called plantation Christianity, even though that's a part of it too. A priest doesn't always have to be in a so-called building doing these things. It's just the manner of that person and the sacrifice that they're doing to their God. And this, I did a little walk earlier. I was listening to Elder Apostle Gabar's video, which we spoke about that yesterday. About these different rituals they do in the music business. He did a video on it. He said he would. We were getting a bite to eat yesterday. We spoke about it, and he was telling me about that whole situation. And he did the video, and I was watching it. I pretty much watched the whole thing, I believe, or almost the whole thing. I did watch the whole thing, and pretty much it enhances this lesson based off of this verse here, because these Jay-Z's and fiancés, Beyonce's, and like he mentioned, Cardi B's and your Little Kim's and your Foxy Browns, and your LL Cool J's, and especially those that are more prominent right now, that are on top right now. These are nothing but low-level priests of the Illuminati, of the so-called ruling elite. That's what they are. And what they're doing is they're forwarding their agenda by causing them behind the scenes and in front of the world to commit these different acts of sacrifice or rituals that they're doing to keep the public further and further asleep, to get the public further and further into the acceptance of the agenda of the illuminated ones, so to speak. All right. So that's what I thought about when I thought about this, when I read this. And then, you also have these different Jakes in the Roman Catholic Church, in plantation Christianity, whatever denomination it may be. And they're doing the same exact thing because they're pushing the agenda of the elite, you know. And like I said, a priest doesn't necessarily have to be one that goes before the pulpit, you know, and before the congregation to give their so-called sermon or speech, even though they're using that also. But these celebrities on all levels, not just music industry, you know, on the ones that are entertainers, whether they're comedians, you know, whether they're movie stars or whatever the case may be, what they're doing is they're blowing the trumpet of the so-called ruling class elite, you know, and that is something the Most High is against, you know, because they're blowing the trumpet for the so-called elite. Now, the trumpet was set up for what? To either gather the congregation, to, you know, gather the elders, you know, or as a warning that war was imminent or that the enemy was coming. You see? So there are distinctions in the blowing of these horns, of these trumpets. So when these celebrities blow the trumpet, or when they do what they do, whether it's a movie or a song, whether it's hip hop or R&B or whatever the case may be, they are doing rituals behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to captivate the minds of the unsuspecting, you know. And this is one of the ways that they hide the gospel of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So 1 Corinthians 14:7 says, and even things without life-giving sound, whether pipe or harp, except they give a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known what is piped or harped? Right. So how are you going to know what's being piped or harped if the person that's playing the instrument is not hitting the right notes? Okay. For if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? Right. And what's happening right now is through these celebrities and also through these jakes that are in prominent position in these different religions, and even among Israel that know that they're Israelites, what they're doing is they're giving an uncertain sound. So they're not preparing Jake to be ready mentally for what's coming down the pike, which is Jacob's trouble. But what they're doing is they're keeping them entertained through these bread and circuses and these satanic rituals that they're doing, you know, that it's keeping Jake deviated, you know, away from the Most High, instead of bringing him closer and closer to the Most High. You see? So that's what these things are doing. It says, so likewise you accept, you utter by the tongue words easy to be understood. How shall it be known what is spoken? For you shall speak into the air. And what they're doing is they're confusing Jake. And they're alluring them, you know, by the seduction of the fame of this world, you know, to, you know, lure them into that so that they can follow behind them, you know, in the bad sense of the Pied Piper, until they drown in the ocean of Esau's madness. And that's what they're doing. They're leading the flock astray, you know, because they're not blowing the right trumpet. So when we read Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, right, and the 10th, let's start at 9. And he said unto me, go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. Right. And this is done by who? By leaders of the people. You know, back then it was Judah, you know, Benjamin, Levi, you know, the different tribes. But you had leaders of the people that had influence on the people doing certain things. And since the people believed in them, what they would do is what? They would actually follow in their footsteps because they were an example to them. And they thought it was okay because they saw them doing it. And they regarded them in high esteem as being somebody that was connected to the Most High. So they figured that whatever they did was the right thing to do. And that's the same exact thing that they're doing today in these different churches, in the entertainment world, in the political arena, and even among Israel, the ones that know that they're Israelites. So it has infected the world. It says, so I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. And he saw this, just like, those of you that have ever been into a Ephraimite, a so-called Puerto Rican, or, some of the other tribes, Manasseh, Simeon, especially them Ephraimites. You go to their homes, they have, what they have like, what's the word I'm looking for? Veneration to saints. They might have, a whole bunch of saints, or they might have just Caesar Borgia. They may have, some Edomite looking dude on a crutch. They say that's Lazarus. Just different rituals that they do for these so-called saints. And this is what Jake was doing back then. But the thing about it wasn't just any lower ranking dudes. It was higher ranking individuals, because these celebrities that you see on a regular, which I'm not sure who said that. I'm not sure. I believe that might have been Eustace Mullins. Those celebrities that you see on the regular always, they're pretty much juiced in. So those celebrities, like the prominent one that I we always go to is Jay-Z and Beyonce, because they're very popular and they stay, relevant, because these are their top priests and priestesses that they're using to push their agenda, that are showing all of these different, things. They're doing it behind the scenes, but they're also putting it in their music. Whenever you see them on, doing live concerts, or whenever you see them, doing videos, or whenever you see them performing at certain venues, to promote whatever, Oscars or whatever. I'm not an expert, on the different awards that they give for the different genres of whether it's movie or music or whatever the case may be, But whenever you see these things, those are rituals being played out in the face of the people, and it leaves an impression in their mind, because it's casting a spell upon them. That's why I said that once this beast came up out of the bottomless pit, or should I say once the deadly wound was healed, it said that the world wondered after the beast, because they had an alluring, seductive, devilish way about them, and they were able to seduce, those that looked on. But the Lord caused certain Israelites to wake up from that. That's why it says, arise, shine, for thy light is come, because gross darkness has taken the world, and there's still gross darkness upon the people to this very day. So it says, and there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. So these would be considered idolatrous priests, what we're reading in Zephaniah, the Chemarims, idolatrous priests. But now keep in mind, it's not just those, hypnotized by the beast. That's right. It's not speaking about just those so-called priests that you see in the churches. Even though these celebrities are priests on a lower level, of a satanic church, which is the belief of the illuminated ones. It says, and in the midst of them stood Jaazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Yeah, because you always have a top leader, among them. It says, then said he unto me, son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of Israel, what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chamber of his imagery? For they say, the Lord seeth us not, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. And that's why you have these different satanic rituals that not everyone on the planet is allowed to go to. There's only a certain amount. And even among the celebrities, you have certain chosen celebrities that can go to certain of these, initiations, parties, so on and so forth. Because they've been initiated. They know exactly what they're into. They sold their soul. They have no conscience. They don't give a damn. They'll do whatever it takes in order for them to be successful. You see? So that was pretty much it. Now you can read the rest of the chapter. It gets deeper and deeper. But that was the main point that I wanted to get out of that. Dealing with the Chemarims. So the priesthood of, these so-called elites would be, they have actual Council of 13. They have different witches and warlocks, but then they also have their lower level priests and priestesses, which are these different celebrities in whatever capacity they may be in, whether it's making movies, whether it's making music, the different genres of music, whether it's in the political arena, whether it's in the technical or the technological arena. These different scientists, you see, these are all a part of Esau's priesthood on the left-hand side with the priests. So now we go on. It says, and them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and that swear by the Lord, and that swear by Malcolm. Right, Malcolm being another name for Molech, if I'm not mistaken. And you even have those among Israel that know the Lord's name that are a part of it. They're complicit in this. It says, and them that are turned back from the Lord, right? Because you have those that once were a part of this and turned back. And now they're into that, whether it's on a super low level or on a super high level. One name came to mind, but I'm not going to mention it, well, the hell with it. Mike Venus, even though that's a low level, but you see, he went back into that, and now he's totally bugged out, It says, and those that have not sought the Lord, nor inquired for him, hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord power, for the day of the Lord is at hand. So this is how we know that this particular verse, this chapter, a lot of this chapter is really talking about things that are happening now and that will happen. Some of it happened back then. Like you did actually have the Lord that cut off the remnant of Baal and the Chemarims with the priests. But today you also have a priesthood on the left-hand side for Esau. It says, for the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice, he hath bid his guests. Right, because in this marriage supper of the Lamb, you have those that are actual members of, that are invited, that will actually be the real partakers. But then the rest, they've been invited. They are guests, but they're not going to be partakers of that marriage supper. They're going to be a partaker of the judgment for those that refuse and reject, the lamb, the marriage of the Lamb, or the marriage supper of the Lamb. It says, and it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice, because the Lord has a great sacrifice. You can read about that in the book of Isaiah 34. The great sacrifice that the Lord is going to bring. And also, the Most High Yahweh promised the birds a feast of these different military men. You can read about that in Revelation 19 and other chapters, but the main one is Revelation 19, which really goes into it. It says that I will punish the princes and the king's children and all such as are clothed with what? Strange apparel. Let's see what this says here for strange apparel. Okay, we got strange, which is the word nakarya, which is an actual stranger, but this is dealing with Israel. See, that's why I said sometimes the word nakarya, nakar, bun nakar, or nakarya, sometimes or most times it applies to the other nations, but every once in a while it applies to Jake that are acting like these other nations. Nakarya, they're wearing strange apparel. All right, and then the word apparel, the word mala bawash, clothing, apparel, vestment, raiment, attire. Right, so they're clothed. Let's go real quick to, let's either Isaiah 30 or 31. Let's try 30. Right. Isaiah 30 and 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, that take counsel, but not of me. Yeah, because the counsel that they're taking is what? The counsel of the enemy. That's why it says that the remnant of Jake, the ones that come back to the Lord. Let's go to Isaiah 10. The ones that are part of the elect I believe that's the 20th verse. And it shall, a remnant will return. And it shall come to pass in that day. Why? Because we were all caught up into this at one time. We all had dreams and aspirations and things that we wanted to do, and roads that we wanted to travel, and we had, careers that we wanted to pursue because we wanted to be comfortable, because that's the picture that's painted. That's that American dream. That's the wandering after the beast. That's part of it. All right. But the Lord woke us up from that, and come to find out years later that there was a whole lot of filth and a whole lot of BS and a whole lot of wickedness that was going on in order to get to that spot. You just thought you just had to have talent and be lucky enough, to run into somebody that will give you a chance, or whatever the case may be. But it's far beyond that. So it says, and it shall come to pass in that day, this is Isaiah 10 and 20, that the remnant of Israel, the remainders, it says, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, meaning you're going to have a lot of Israelites that's going to be caught up in the web of Esau. But you're going to have those that escape. Why? Because of the anointing. When you read further down, what is the anointing? The oil of this truth, which gives us the mental capacity to slip under Esau's radar, because the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Shai guided us in that direction, not to fall into the web. As to where these other jakes, they don't have the oil to get around the stickiness of that web. Just like the word subtile means under the web. And Elder Apostle Gabar brought this out years ago, that the reason why a spider doesn't get stuck in his own web is because it secretes a particular oil through its tentacles, I guess they call it, legs or whatever they're called, and is able to glide over, that are sticky. And any of you that have ever, ran into like cobwebs, that shit is real sticky. It's hard to get off. But the spider itself has an oil that secretes through its tentacles or feet or whatever the hell they're called, and it glides through it. That's why it doesn't get stuck. So this oil of the truth is what helps us glide through Esau's, through his webs. These web of lies that they put out there. So it says, and such as escaped from the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them. Right, because Jacob's still staying upon the ones that smote us. They're still relying on Esau. They're still looking to Esau to get them into a better condition, a better situation. It says, but shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. What? In truth. Why? Because of the anointing, that oil, to be able to slip the hooks of Satan. They'll be able to glide with that oil through all of these webs. And the main web is what? Money. Because that is one of the things that's the reason why Jake sells out, to be financially stable. But they fall into many hurtful lusts. All right, so going back to Isaiah 30, woe to them, to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me. Yeah, because they're not taking counsel of the Lord. That cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. So what is that covering? That covering is this strange apparel that Jake has on him, that the Lord doesn't recognize them right now. He knows that they're Israelites, but right now they're not in his good graces. They're not in his favor. That's why they will be considered heathen. That's why they would be considered Gentiles. That's why they would be considered uncircumcised, abominable. So let's go to the word covering. Let's see what the word covering says. The word there is masakah. Masakah. A pouring, libation, molten metal, cast image, drink offering. Right, a cast image. Libation with the covenant sacrifice. Yeah, because a libation is a drink offering to the gods, which the drink offering that you do is when you partake in these rituals. That's why the rituals, you do what in these rituals? You have what? Dionysus, Bacchus, it was, you would get drunk and then you do all manner of bullshit. In this case, they get drunk, they take drugs, and they'll be so high that their senses are gone. They'll do whatever. The men on men, men with women that are married, so on. I mean, all kind of abominable things that they do, eating shit sandwiches, chasing down with iced pea, not iced tea, iced pea, and there's a lot of debaucherous things that Jake does just to be able to make it in the society, because they are the idolatrous priests of Esau on the left-hand side. It says molten metal, molten image, molten gods, web, covering, veil. Yeah. So it's a veil. So it's a woven stuff. It's a covering that's over them, but it's not their covering. It's just like when Adam and Eve tried to cover themselves up in the garden. And what they did was they tried to disguise themselves as the nations, but they couldn't be hid. Let's see. All right. I think that, right here, Genesis 3:7. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, they had sinned. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Why did they do this? Why did they take on the image of these different nations? It's going to say it. And they heard the voice of the Lord power walking in the garden in the cool of the day, because they knew they were going to have to answer for that. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord power amongst the trees of the garden. So what did they do? They made them fig leaves and aprons. In other words, they took on the identity, and they tried to hide themselves. They tried to assimilate themselves, into these other nations, but they couldn't be hid, because Jake is even though they weren't called Jake back then, or Israelites, the spirit in the sons of God is different from the spirit in these other nations, and you could tell the difference. These nations have a dismal spirit. They have no life. They're just there as servants. But the Israelites, on the other hand, have a lively spirit. That's why even the Egyptian women, the midwife, said that. So look, when we come in, the Israelite women are not like the Egyptian women. They're lively. As soon as they give birth, they take the son and go. Because it's true. Israel is a lively people, lively stones. It's the salt of the earth. So we stand out. So when they tried to assimilate themselves into the practices and customs of these nations in the garden, the Lord seen right through that. Because Jake can't hide themselves. So this is what Jake is doing right now. They're taking a covering upon themselves that is not of the Most High, that they may add sin to sin. So we go back here, malabawash, which comes from the word labash, which is clothing, apparel, vestment, raiment, attire. So they try to, and it doesn't necessarily, I mean, Jake went to the extreme, they, started making dashikis, and you actually have, Buddhist monk, sackcloth or whatever the hell they put on, and a different gear of these nations. But ultimately it's talking about, the garments of these nations in their mind, in their spirit. All right. It's not talking about actual clothing. Let's go real quick to Revelation 16. This explains it perfectly. And there's other ones. It says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, meaning keeps the truth, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Right? Just like Adam and Eve, they were naked. And here it says that when they put that covering on, that they may add sin to sin. So we go back here to Zephaniah 1:8, and it shall come to pass in that day, in the day of the Lord's sacrifice, that I will punish the princes, because you have top men that are doing this, and the king's children, and such as are clothed with strange apparel, that are into these different philosophies, that are into the political arena, that are into this entertainment world. Because in order for you to do that, you have to be lower level priests and priestesses, witches and warlocks, to bring out their agenda. So moving on, it says, in the same day also will I punish those that leap on the threshold which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And that's what you do. You fill the master's house with violence and deceit because you're pushing their agenda forward. You have platforms where you could teach your people. You have platforms where you could wake Jacob and warn them of the wicked shit that's going on, but you won't do it because you are part of that disease. You are a part of that problem, that parasite. It says, and it shall come to pass, and all so that you can live a better, comfortable life. But you don't understand that better, comfortable life is going to lead you to destruction. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. And we're witnessing that right now, because you're seeing all of these different businesses shutting down. The oceans are polluted. Therefore, the fish that are coming in are tainted. They're dying off. You know, the supply chains are breaking down. Mysteriously, all of these different, plants where they manufacture food is being destroyed, burnt to the ground. Your man kill snakes. He's out there buying up all type of farmland. Pushing the world to get into synthetic meats, that Soylent Green. So everything is collapsing. And this is all prior to the great day of the Lord. How, you inhabitant of Maktesh? Maktesh was a merchant city, that was known for trading silver. But the Lord is telling them the how. And this time, this is considered what? These different Wall Street and the different places around the world that are set up in the same fashion as Wall Street is. Because why? They're drinking of the wine of the wrath or the fornication of this whore. For all the merchant people are cut down, right? All they that bear silver are cut off. So you're seeing these different markets around the world collapsing, falling apart. Why? Because the next agenda, or the NWO, is predicated, to use a big word, on removing cash totally, permanently from the planet and having everything go digital. And all nations are in this. They're all pushing for that, digital currency, making it harder and harder for people to use cash. And as a matter of convenience, people are going to give these things up. As a matter of convenience, people are going to get the chip. C to the H to the I to the P. I ain't talking about potato either. So reading on, and it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles. And this is happening right now. The Lord is searching Jerusalem with candles. What are the candles? Those are the different men out here that are teaching his word with the oil of the Lord in them, that are shining their lights bright, that are teaching his word. And that word is reaching other of the elect out there that are being sealed by the day. And punish the men that are settled on their lees. The lees are the things that settle at the bottom, the sediments that settle at the bottom of the wine. And they're in a comfortable position. So the Lord said he's going to punish them because they're settled on that. They're comfortable. It says that say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. Yeah, like that big lummox from ISUPK said, if you go to do a bid, I can't remember exactly how he said it, but if you doing a bid in a joint, you're not thinking about the day you're getting out. What the fuck are you talking about? And basically he was saying, you just got to sit down and just wait for it. Like don't hasten it, just shut the hell up and sipping his scotch or whatever the hell that was he's drinking. So the Lord said he's going to punish them individuals. Therefore, their goods shall become a booty. Right, because you're going to lose everything. Remember, 2 Ezra 15 and 2 Ezra 16. And their houses are desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. Yeah, because you Israelites, you have the people, especially here in America, we'll just deal with America, that are building this place up. A lot of them is Jake. And how many of you Israelites out there that are out there actually building these things actually live there? You have Issachar that goes out there and picks, their different fields or whatever they have to pick them, and how many of them get to enjoy the fruits of that labor? Once they make the wine, they say, you know what, since you guys, we're going to give you a case of this wine for you guys to drink it, with your quesadillas or whatever the case may be. No. It says the great day of the Lord is near. So this is how we know that this chapter, especially from about the 5th or 6th verse on down, is not talking about back then. It's talking about now. The great day of the Lord is near. It is near and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry bitterly, right? Because the voice of the Lord is hastening greatly. That's why it speaks about that in the book of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, where it speaks about hastening coming of the day of the Lord. The captive exile hasteneth that he may be loose, and that he shall not die in the pit. So on and so forth. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. Why? Because even these different, military men are going to be in straits. They're going to change their boxes for skirts, for panties. Because it's going to be horrific. It's going to be like something that they never seen before. Not in movies, not in plays, not in anything. They have not read about it in any book, except they read the Bible. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation. Wasteness and desolation. There's going to be a great wasting in the land of Babylon the Great, America. The word there is shawa'ah, ravage, devastation, ruin, waste, devastation, ruin, waste. So these missiles and the lasers from the chariots are going to totally devastate this place. They're going to liquidate them. Inside joke. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. So what's going to cause that? The smoke that's coming up from the missiles hitting and everything being on fire. That great soot that's going to go up. That's going to be that thick cloud of darkness. It says a day of the trumpet and alarm against fenced cities. Right. Let's go real quick to Amos. Since we're talking about the trumpet, Amos 3:6, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and Yahweh Bashem Yahushua have not done it? So this trumpet that's being blown in the city, people are going to be afraid. Especially the trumpet that's going to be blown in this time, when the missiles are being shot, and that's it. People got 20 minutes, 25 minutes at that to get to wherever. What you gonna do? Some people might be on foot. Some people might be stuck in a traffic jam. Some people might be stuck in an airplane, on a bus, on a train. What you gonna do? It says, and against the high towers, because this is coming against everything, even these skyscrapers that these devils built. The element shall melt with fervent heat. Let's look up this word, high towers. High, gaba'ah, or gabah. High exalted, high tall, high in position, proud, haughty, loftiness. So you got tall buildings and you have people that are proud. And the word towers. Let's look up the word towers. Panah. Corner of square objects. Corner of ruler or chief. A pinnacle, which is like the top, figuratively a chieftain, bulwark, chief, corner, stay, tower. And when we look up the word tower, that's usually where the watchman would be at. Tower. Definition. It says a tall, narrow building, either freestanding or forming part of a building such as a church or a castle. All right. So all of this is going to be burnt down to a crisp. Your entertainment system, your entertainment world, your churches, these different studios. As our elder Apostle Gabar was telling me yesterday, that certain studios where Michael Jackson and certain other figures would recorded that people wanted to go there because them demons were still there. Because that is those studios are where the magic happens. That's where the spell is cast. That is the altar of the musicians. That's where they lay it down at. So let's go back. It says, and a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. Yeah, because you have a trumpet to gather the, as it says in Numbers 10, you have a trumpet to gather. A certain way you blow the trumpet gathers just the rulers. Another way you blow the trumpet is to gather the congregation. And then when you blew the trumpet and sounded the alarm, that was time for war. So this is a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men. Right? Because when desperation hits, most people just go into a panic. Let's go to, what is that? Luke 21. 21:25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations. And we're starting to witness the beginnings of this. With perplexity. Yeah. People are perplexed. They don't know what to do. They don't have answers. The people that they looked for that are in charge don't have answers for them. So that pretty much sets forth a super desperate mindset. The sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Meaning all these different governments and militaries, they're going to be shaken, and their hearts are going to fail them. They're going to have heart attacks or strokes for looking after those things that are coming on the earth. As we read in here in Zephaniah, and I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men. They're going to have no answers of what to do, because they have sinned against the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as dung, because the slain of the Lord shall be many. It says, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. Right, because that is, when you have money usually can get you out of many situations. But Proverbs 11:4, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. So it doesn't matter how much money you have in that day. You're not going to be able to escape with your money. The best money to have is the Lord's money, which is the riches of the Lord, and a spiritual bank account. And that way you'll be able to withdraw. We'll be able to withdraw Lord's will from our spiritual bank account for protection. Because you're not going to be able to buy protection in that day, no matter how rich you are. So neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured with the fire of his jealousy. Back then, the land of Israel was not totally destroyed. So this is not talking about the land of Israel. This is talking about here in America. The whole land is going to be totally destroyed by what? By fire. That's why the scriptures say that this place is going to be as when the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. How was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? By the Lord fusing together elements in the air and causing fire to rain down upon them. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. So a speedy riddance. It's only going to take an hour to wipe this place off the map. 1 hour. There's not really much you could do in an hour, especially under a desperate mind state, a perplexed mind state. So this has been Zephaniah, the first chapter. I pray that you brothers and your fuses have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.